And we are back on the 0 hour. This is your host, Richard RJ Eskow. And given the ongoing assault on Social Security being conducted by Trump and his associates, who better to discuss that with than my next guest, who is a valiant fighter for Social Security, in my opinion, in Washington, D.C., in the halls of Congress. He is, although he might demur, I would say is the driving force behind the Social Security 2100 Act, which would expand the program. He has taken a leadership position in responding to some of the attacks on the program as well. Representative John Larson is a member of the United States House of Representatives. He represents Connecticut's 1st congressional district, and he joins us once again now. So first of all, Representative Larson, thank you for coming back on the program.
RJ, great to be with you.
Secondly, I'm going to make a statement in my usual provocative way, and you're free to disagree or agree or just comment in general, but I'm going to start this way. First of all, let's congratulate each other in the country on the 85th birthday of Social Security, which is tomorrow as we record this, or Friday, for people who will have heard this afterwards. And let me make my statement, which is that I think that Social Security, like a lot of 85-year-old Americans, is having its survival endangered by the policies of this administration. What's your reaction?
Well, RJ, you opened this segment with the right word, the operative word, and it's an assault. And I don't think we can be anything other than direct with respect to this. And this is coming from a president who previously had pretty much danced around that idea. He famously told 16 other Republicans in a debate in 2016 that Social Security was not an entitlement. It was an earned benefit. That earned him the support and admiration of a lot of people who said, well, this guy understands that, and much to the astonishment of his Republican colleagues. He has now come full circle, and what he's proposing in terms of Social Security and a payroll tax holiday will gut the program. And he's saying that he wants to eliminate it even further. And in doing so, says that the funds will come, he will pay for it out of the general funds. Well, this is precisely what Roosevelt warned against. The whole notion behind Social Security is that it would be an earned benefit. And coming out of the Great Depression, making sure that part was paid by the employer, part was paid by the employee. And it's a relationship that has worked unbelievably well as the nation's number one program. It's the number one anti-poverty program. It's the nation's number one insurance program. And even during the Great Recession of just from 2008, 2009, it never missed a payment. While people stood by and watched their 401ks become 101ks and continue to see this fluctuation, Social Security has never missed a payment. And as you know, RJ, it's not just a pension benefit. This is also a disability benefit, as well as spousal and dependent coverage. And so many Americans have come to depend on it and rely on it. The only thing that hasn't happened is that Congress hasn't stepped forward and made sure that it is sustainably solvent, which is the goal of our Social Security 2100 bill, and make sure it is sustainably solvent and, in fact, enhance the benefits. Imagine the last time Congress attempted to make Social Security solvent was 1983. Ronald Reagan was president. Tip O'Neill was Speaker of the House. And it's been more than 50 years since the program has enhanced. Do you think things have changed a little over that 55 years? And Americans in poll after poll after poll, Democrat, Republican, and Independent, say, hey, you know what? We're fine with enhancing and increasing an earned benefit insurance premium. The Republicans like to call this a tax. What tax do you know of that you get a pension benefit, that you get a disability benefit, spousal and dependent coverage off of? And one, because it's the full faith and credit of the United States government, has never missed a payment. And not only has it never missed a payment, it has what is referred to in the insurance industry as a 99% loss ratio, meaning this: its maintenance of the program costs less than 1%. That's how efficient and effective the program is. We should be doing everything within our means to make sure that Social Security is not only solvent, sustainably solvent beyond 75 years, but also to enhance these benefits, especially as this COVID pandemic has exposed the problems that this targets, and amongst those it targets are the elderly, but specifically women and women of color and black males. This is a time for us to fix this program and do it right. The confluence of inequity that's been exposed by George Floyd, the confluence of having to come together with the physical health of people through COVID and the health of the economy, is underscored by our need to make sure that the program that Congress has fiscal responsibility and is specifically in charge of is made sustainably solvent.
And Congressman Larson, it's also, I mean, a number of thoughts and questions about this, but it's also, it's fine for Trump to say, yeah, well, reelect me and I will have the money go back into the trust, Social Security trust funds from general revenues. But you're in Congress, obviously I'm not, but it seems to me not in this lifetime is the Senate under Mitch McConnell. Hopefully it won't be under Mitch McConnell pretty soon. But I just don't see, I don't see that as a sincere promise in any way. Maybe I'm cynical, but
no,
I don't think he needs it.
It's in fact exactly what people have, especially, and I will say this, even Presidents Eisenhower and Reagan understood that this was a program, and both of them, Republican presidents, ended up expanding Social Security on their watch. Now, that's something we expect clearly out of Roosevelt and Truman and Kennedy and Johnson and Carter, and Clinton. But, they recognized that this is what's needed in order to make sure that Americans can retire worry-free, that they will not be in poverty. And yet, having said that, RJ, as you know, and we've discussed on the program before, there's some current 5 million Americans who have worked all their lives, paid in all their quarters to Social Security, but get a below-poverty check from Social Security. That's not right either. And so we can adjust and fix that. What happened in 1983 is that Congress didn't index appropriately, so that otherwise we wouldn't even have to be touching this program. Had they indexed it, had they made sure that there was a COLA that actually reflected the needs and concerns that the elderly have and took into account what they actually spend money on. And speaking of spending money and economic development, the president talks about having the economy recover. The best way to do that is put money right back into the community, right back into the hands of people who spend it directly at their local pharmacy, with their doctors, paying their rents, their mortgages, and heating and cooling their homes and putting fuel in their automobiles. This is what, and between nutritional concerns and between pharmaceutical concerns and physical therapy, this is what we need to be making sure we're getting those monies into the hands of individuals who then spend it right back in their community.
And speaking of that, and again, we're talking to Representative John Larson from Connecticut's 1st District. Speaking of that, it seems to me, and I don't know where you stand on this, but it seems to me that as a response to the economic emergency we're going through now, that suspending the FICA tax, the payroll tax, is not a very good way of doing it. One, it doesn't help the 28 million Americans right now collecting unemployment insurance.
Exactly.
It doesn't help the people who are out of the workforce altogether. And for the people it does help, it's a pennies or a few bucks a month. If you want to help people get through this, they don't need a few pennies dribbling in between now and December. They need something now. So my feeling is, I got to believe this is not a sincere attempt to help people get through the pandemic. It's more like an excuse to do what Trump, no matter what he says, and his party wanted to do for a long time, which is gut the funds for Social Security so they can say, well, we've got to cut it now.
Well, you're exactly right, RJ. The payroll tax proposal is the single worst way to get relief to the beleaguered Americans you just went through. It's, in fact, stealing from their retirement to make up for this administration's failure to contain the virus and save the economy. So let's get real about this, and let's send money during this pandemic. We also introduced an emergency provision that said if you want to help, and we know who are the most impacted people, you just went through that, but we also know that this disease has targeted the elderly, and it's also, when we look at who it targets, it's women of color specifically, and also black males. So why don't we fix the very system and program that sends them consistently money, that has never missed a payment, and provides with them the needs? Nobody gets wealthy on Social Security. Nobody's going to retire on this. It sustains them through life. And all it is just a way in which is actuarially sound, is an earned benefit because people are contributing into the program. They have expected in return that their government would continue to run the program effectively to make sure that it's actuarially sound and is providing them with the benefits that they need. We're long overdue for a 2% across the board increase, for a COLA that works for everyone, and even a tax cut. And I say this to my Republican colleagues, you still pay taxes on Social Security. If you're, single and making more than $24,000, you pay. More than $32,000, you pay. Under our proposal, 12 million Americans will get an immediate tax cut, as well as making sure that we're sustaining Social Security into the next century so that everyone, and especially with 10,000 baby boomers a day becoming eligible for Social Security, and millennials, I might add, who need this program more than baby boomers. And for so many of them who this is the only program that they have, and particularly because they find themselves in this situation where they're paying higher mortgages, where they're not making as much as their parents made, where their earnings have fluctuated, where they haven't been able to save like their parents, where this savings program, this defined benefit contribution is been a savior for so many Americans. That's why we need to strengthen it and give them the guarantee and the peace of mind that it will be there for them. And that's what we're going to continue to fight for.
And what you're describing is
government and the Biden administration doing it.
Well, what you're describing is your Social Security 2100 Act, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, you are. You are not mistaken, and that's exactly what we're describing, is that you just can't continue to go along and do the patchwork. Congress's responsibility, and the Ways and Means Committee specifically, is charged with this aspect of making sure that the nation's number one insurance plan is actuarially sound. And so we haven't had an adjustment since 1983. That's 37 years. We're long overdue. These are very modest reforms, but even these modest reforms will be lifesavers for so many people who need and depend on Social Security.
So let me and again, we're talking with Representative John Larson of Connecticut. On the subject of Social Security, there is another topic I wanted to raise with you, which
Sure.
was you and Senator Sanders, my old boss, talked about, reacted to the other day to a study from the GAO. And this is an issue that keeps coming up. This is disabled Americans year after year dying while they wait to hear about appeals or hearings for their Social Security benefits. You know, some of the Republicans on the Hill, especially, try to make it sound as if, you know, it's a free ride to get on Social Security disability. You and I know it's very, very, very tough to apply for. A lot of people get wrongfully denied and so on. So you and the senator have introduced, as I understand it, companion bills that would, among other things, make the wealthier people pay a fair share and would increase funding for an administration and cut that backlog. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And let me underscore something you said. First of all, let me. Bernie Sanders has been such a champion of this. I was blessed to be able to work with him when he was in the House, and he continues to fight on behalf of the American people. And I in a previous life, you know, I was an insurance agent. I live in the greater Hartford area, one time known as the insurance capital of the world. What do they say about Social Security? They say it has a 99% loss ratio. What does that mean? That means that it uses 1% of its cost to administrate and do it effectively. The rest of the money goes right back out to the citizens who need it. And especially, as you pointed out, these long waiting periods for people on disability, many of whom are our veterans who have served this country with distinction. This is a black eye on the nation. We have to be able to turn this around and turn it around effectively in a way so that people that are injured, and as you point out, they're not exploiting and going or this program. You have to go through a very rigorous testing process and follow up in order to get the disability payments that you were alluding to. So yes, you're absolutely right. I'm honored to be with someone who has had such an extraordinary career as Bernie Sanders on this, and we're hopeful we're going to make headway with this and get it through.
Well, I'm certainly with you on that one. Before I let you go, John Larson, is there anything I didn't ask that I should have asked, or anything you'd like to point out on this whole topic?
Well, RJ, I think thank you again for having me on the show, and thank you for being such a stellar voice at this time when Social Security is under attack, because they've under direct assault, in fact, now, because they've tried to get the American people, especially millennials and other generations, to believe that it won't be there for you. And my colleagues on the Hill, and listen, not all Republicans are bad-minded when it comes to this. They all claim they want to protect and preserve it. They just never put anything in writing and ever put a proposal for it. All they do is say that, we'll see what happens down the road. While they're waiting, what's happening is the program faces cuts. If the president were able to get his wishes through, the Center for American Progress has indicated that as soon as 2025, Social Security could receive major cuts to the program. I think we have to put people's feet in the fire and do something rare that doesn't happen, especially in the United States Senate, and that's vote on these issues. The House of Representatives has sent over 475 bills that sit over in Mitch McConnell's bin that he hasn't taken up or brought to the floor for a vote. That's not what a democracy is about. That's not how it should work. Do what you're sent to Congress to do. Vote. If you disagree with it, let the public know. The problem is that they oftentimes, and especially the case for Social Security, don't want to put that in front of you. They've made attempts to privatize it in the past. They certainly have now making attempts to have secret commissions decide the fate of Social Security behind closed doors with an up or down vote. No, let's have regular order, public hearings out front with a proposal and then a vote. RJ, thank you so much for the opportunity to come on and talk about the nation's number one insurance program and number one anti-poverty program. Let's keep it healthy. Let's keep it strong. Let's help the citizens out who it was intended to do. This is an earned benefit, not a welfare program.
Representative John Larson of Connecticut, always a pleasure to talk to you. And as always, thanks for coming on the program.
Thanks, RJ.
We'll be right back after this. I am Richard RJ Eskow, and this is the Zero Hour.